Hello, it's Tonya Duncan Ellis, author of the Sophie Washington book series, and I'm excited to welcome you here for the third episode of Write This, my author interview program. And today we have an exciting new guest, middle grade debut author Judy Allen Dodson, who will be talking about her new book, Escape from Hurricane Katrina. And I live in Houston. We have a lot of storms and rainy weather that we've been having all summer, so I can really relate to the hurricane theme and can't wait to have her join me on today. And I'm going to invite her on. Get her on. The request on and get her on. So it's going to be an exciting episode where we'll learn about her writing process and all about the inspiration behind her newest book, or her debut book, Escape from Hurricane Katrina. So I can't wait to see her and see what she has to say about that. And in other news, I've been really excited this week because my 12th book in the series, Sophie Washington Lemonade Day, recently released, and it's been well received, and I've been having a lot of my little readers sending in information about it, sending in their reactions. So that's been pretty exciting for me as we kick off the newest book in the series. And I've been drinking a lot of lemonade this summer in preparation for the release of the book. So I need to put a little freeze on that now that I've stopped with some of the pre-marketing. And I see that we have Teach, Write, Praise God has joined. Thank you for tuning in. We're waiting on Judy to come in and to talk to her about her newest book. So I'm waiting for her to come on in. So how are you doing today? You doing okay? Okay, good. Well, we'll wait for her to get in. And what else has been going on? I'm excited too because I'll be taking a vacation coming up, and I've been planning and prepping for that. Just a little bit of time for self-care because I've been really busy with my books and some other things going on. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit of time and relaxation with my family in the upcoming week. Hi, how are you doing? But we're waiting on Judy Allen Dodson to show for the interview. We'll see where she is, what's going on with her. And maybe we'll put a message here. Not sure where she is. Well, while we're waiting, if you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to answer them. So while we're here, I can answer any questions you might have about my books or any writer questions. I know that we've got some writers on. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I guess you don't have any, so we'll just wait for Judy. Let's see what else is going on. But the interesting thing with me and Judy is that I've also written a book about hurricanes called, the book I have is Sophie Washington Hurricane. So that was interesting to me when I saw hers come out, and we had a little bit of a chat about the inspirations behind our book. So you'll find hers very interesting. Okay, now I've got a question. What is my recommendation for critiques and editing? I'm a member of an organization called the Society of Children's Books Writers and Illustrators. So I found that to be a good source to find critique groups. So are you in any writing groups? If you're in a group like that, that's a good way to find other people to join in with a critique partner. And also I found Facebook groups are good. Sometimes I've joined writers' Facebook groups, and so I was able to connect, but that was kind of random, really, connected with some other authors in my area, and we would have monthly meetups. But I would say the best place to find a critique group would be to join a professional organization and then link up with some other authors to get that done. And even for editing, though, another good resource for me as an independent author is this place called Reedsy. It's spelled Reedsy. And Reedsy vets different writing services or services that help self-published authors like editors, formatters, cover creators. So that's a great place to get information, get those kind of resources if you're interested. But I don't know what is going on. Judy is not here yet, so we're gonna stay on for a couple more minutes, and then if she does not come on, I'm gonna reach out to her just to check and see. But before, so we'll stay on a couple more minutes, and then I'll pop out and send her a message because she messaged me earlier today, and just check in and see what she's doing. She has not done an Instagram live before, so she may be having trouble getting on. So I may have to pop out and then come back on to check with her and see what's going on, because I don't know why she's not here. Now, do you have any more questions before I go? And I think I may pop off and then check with her and see what's going on and then try to come back live again. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, since she's not on, I'm kind of concerned that she may be having some trouble because she called me earlier. So if you could come back, and I'm going to pop off, and then, okay, we've got another person. What's happening? Oh, yay, Judy's here. Okay, good. She's here. Now, do you know how to get on? I sent you an invitation, but I'm going to send you another one. Okay, let me send it. Okay, I just sent you the invitation. So then you will accept it. Yay, you're here. I didn't know what was going on. I got your message earlier, and I've been out all morning. And so I was like, oh, I hope she knows how to get on here. Okay, good. So you're here. my friend is here.
Hey, everybody.
Yay. Okay. So I want to welcome Judy here. She is a debut middle grade author, and her book, I haven't been able to dive into it, but I'm so excited to read it. To be honest with you, I have had rain literally every day this summer for the past 2 months, and I said I can't deal with the hurricane information right now, but I'm excited to check out your new book. But, yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little about where you're from, and tell us something about your story.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah, it was me. It was not Tonya, okay? Like, this is my first Instagram Live, so I am so excited to be here and to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. And so I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it is steamy today, right? Like 90+ degrees and the humidity, but it's all good because, you know, we're here together. And I am a librarian and an archivist, and I love history, and I love teaching history, and most of all, I love writing about history and teaching kids about their history. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Well, that is really interesting. I didn't know you were an archivist, but I guess being a librarian, you would naturally be interested in history.
Yeah, so an archivist and I don't know if it's any little bitties on here or not, but what an archivist does is we save historical documents so people can look at them in the future or currently. But we save these historical documents because we're in repositories like libraries and museums and archives, so people have access to them and they can look at them forever and ever and ever and do all kind of good research.
That sounds cool. Now, can you give us a little bit of information about your book? What is the storyline, and what's it about?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. So like, this is like this is like the best and the worst story that I could have ever written, right? So this year, 2021, marks the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And so when I say the worst, is because we all know that this hurricane at that time, 16 years ago, was one of the worst hurricanes in the United States at that time. Like it was the category, 5, storm barreling in from the Atlantic coast, and it's the best because I get to take these two kids, Jojo and Sophie, who are fraternal twins, on this adventure through surviving the Hurricane Katrina. So here's a copy of my book, and you can see Jojo and Sophie on the cover.
Oh, yeah,
As
that's exciting. Yeah.
the background, you can see that they're trying to get to the Superdome.
Oh.
So not only, this is really like two stories in one, because first of all, they have to try to escape Hurricane Katrina. And then if you know anything about the history of this bad hurricane, but so if you survived Hurricane Katrina and you went to one of the rescue locations, which was the Superdome in New Orleans, that was an adventure in itself. So it's two stories really in one, escaping the hurricane as well as being at the Superdome and trying to survive that.
Now, Judy, what was your inspiration for writing this story?
Well, part of it was, my book was just released for the public release July 7th, 2 weeks ago. But it really dropped last year in 2020, and that was the 15th anniversary. So really, in actuality, it was kind of like to let a new generation of kids know about the hurricane. If you live, I'm sure kids in New Orleans and any of the surrounding states know about the history of the hurricane, but for all these new little kids, they may not know what the hurricane even involved or dealt with, or people had to deal with. So it was in 2006, so they would be 16 years old now, right?
Right.
Just born. But a lot of them now, during my research, I found they're young adults now. So but the motivation was to just bring awareness to Hurricane Katrina, bring a new generation to the awareness of what happened.
Right. And we call my youngest son the hurricane baby because he was born around the time of Hurricane Katrina, and I was pregnant with him around that time. And I remember that vividly.
Really? Hurricane Katrina?
Yes, he was he'll be 16 in September. And so I was pregnant with him around that time of Hurricane Katrina. So that was really trying time. And then we've had multiple hurricanes here in Houston where I live. So I'm well aware of that experience. But.
Exactly. So, and just so, I'm not sure who's all, watching and where you're from. So shout out to everybody who's watching from all over. But in the book, a lot of people go to, in real life too, after the hurricane, a lot of people traveled to different cities because their homes were torn apart because of the hurricane. And a lot of them went to the Houston Astrodome. Isn't it the Astrodome?
Right. They were here in Houston, and we provided, I remember going grocery shopping to get things for people, and friends of mine who are from New Orleans or from Louisiana had family come. And a lot of them stayed here, so they're still here in Houston.
Yeah. So, a lot of people just never were able to go back. It just wasn't, their property wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't inhabitable, and they just want to get back. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an author? How did you become an author? I know you've won some SCBWI awards, and I've seen you as a spokesperson, helping to diversify Kid Lit. You've been a big part of that movement. So how did you get so involved in these things?
So I guess that's a two-part question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember reading The Magic Tree House to my to my son. And he was like, because I love fantasy. Like fantasy and adventure stories are like what I love. So I was like, and he was like, Mommy, how come none of the kids ever look like me? And I thought,
Oh,
I'm going
good
to write
question.
a story. Yes,
Mm.
I'm going to write your story. And so I wrote this amazing, chapter book. It's called Micah's Magic.
Oh.
And it was just for my son, for my kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still working on it, but it's a fantasy, and they're three little black kids that go on a magical adventure, because guess what, our kids can go on magical adventures too, right?
That's right.
And we love fantasy just as much. So what better way to empower, encourage your kids to read and want to be anything that they could be when they see themselves in their own story. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
love that part, right? So my adventure started just writing for my children. And so the second part of that question is, how did I get involved in the advocacy for Black voices being acknowledged and represented in stories and all that? Well, I was one of the voices that needed to be represented, and I couldn't get ahead. I just could
Right.
not. Like every corner, no, we don't want that. I couldn't get enough, everybody who read this story, it just wasn't enough resources out there for
Right.
me. And also too, on the other side, it almost seemed like nobody wanted to hear my story, hear our
Mm-hmm.
story with three little, brown little beautiful, kids in it. And I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
well, what are we doing here? And so I said, you know what? Creativity merged with advocacy, and boom, I was born. I was,
Yes. Well,
yeah,
that's wonderful. And
yeah,
that's what we need. And, with the talk from Rudine Sims Bishop about making books, windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors, we want to include all of the children and help them see themselves, which will keep them interested in reading.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. Like that's what we want. Ultimately, I have two goals here, and it's not even really about me. It's about the story, the history, and the story and the history is bigger than me. Like if I could get kids and reading, if I could get kids to read about history in a exciting, adventurous story, then my job is done here, right? Like,
Right.
I just want them reading, and I just want our history to be told. When I say our history, our Black history to be told in an authentic voice through our lens, through our lived experiences. And so to me, if that can happen, I don't even necessarily, it doesn't even necessarily have to be me. It could be all of us as a community teaching,
Mhm.
growing, learning, this craft of writing and supporting each other. And that's all I want. I just want that for us, and, for the creatives, the Black creatives, as well as our children. But what's important, and I will say with that too, is that we want all kids to see themselves in books, right? But we
Right.
also want other kids of other nationalities and cultures to see Black kids as being human. Like we do everyday things, going to the park, eating ice cream, you know, loving butterflies, winning spelling bees, all this stuff. Like
Right.
see us, see
Mm-hmm.
for who we are, beautiful, Black, smart, intelligent, like see us.
That's right.
And so once we lift up one group of people, we all rise. And isn't that the ultimate goal? Don't we all want to rise?
Right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love what you're talking about the history and teaching about all peoples. Do you think you'll have a sequel to the Escape from Hurricane Katrina with these characters, or have some other historical event going
Ooh.
on? Like when you talked about the Magic Tree House, that kind of put that in my mind.
Yeah. So probably, I would love, my kids asked me the other day, like, Mommy, can JoJo and Sophie, go and do some other adventure? And I said, you know what? I probably need to talk to the editor about that. But
Yeah.
I do have all these other great books about history and, you know, about Micah and Sierra and Garrett. So they'll be coming out soon. You know, it's kind of, you know, difficult, not difficult. I like to juggle. So I have a day job and then
Mm-hmm.
a weekend job, which is writing and creating. But it's just, you know, making sure that I find that balance and doing that self-care, you know, for myself as well, because, you know, us still being in the pandemic, right? Like
Right.
that's a lot. And for me personally, and I know for our children, it's a lot. And so really, Hurricane Katrina shows that you don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be probably the most adventurous child to be able to survive a pandemic, let's say, right?
Right.
But you can with a lot of help and support. You're only as strong as you know you are when you're tested. So,
Right.
yes,
And that's a great point, because this book, your book, is a comfort for kids during the pandemic, seeing other kids going through a traumatic experience and overcoming it.
yeah. And so that's what I wanted. Like I wrote this book, just like I was saying early on. I wrote this book in 2019. I started in 2019 and I was done before the pandemic. And so
Mhm.
when the pandemic hit, I thought, well, because my book did release in August of 2020, but it just released to Follett Education. Um, that's who it released to. And so they had it for, you know, 6 months exclusively. So that was a good opportunity for them to be able to sell, you know, to kids on the educational market. And I hope they did a really good job with, you know, not hope they did, but I wanted them to get it out to the kids who needed it at the time during the pandemic. And so, yeah, it's a lot of entry points that you can come to in Hurricane Katrina. Um, you know, like we talk about differently able children in the book. We
Oh,
talk,
okay.
hmm we talk about pets. We talk about, you know, being scared, and it's okay to be scared, and it's
Mhm.
okay because, you know, you may not always be with your parents, and that's what, you know, Jojo and Sophie have to contend with, that, you know, their mom has cancer, and
Oh,
you know, they're kids, they just want to, you know, pretty much play and have fun, but then the hurricane hits and then they're thrust into this whirlwind, literally and figuratively.
oh.
And then they have to, you know, band together to support each other.
Right. That is good. And
Mhm.
I'm ready to get. Now, you said your book released with Follett
Yeah.
initially. So where can people buy it? Is it available everywhere now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There's a hardcover and there's a paperback. So you can go to Quail Ridge Books is locally here, and I have signed some with Quail Ridge Books, but you can go to
And that's in Raleigh, North
yeah,
Carolina.
and that's in Raleigh. So, you know,
Mhm.
that's oh, and I'll probably have a giveaway soon too with the African American Literature Book Club, and that's
Oh,
amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna work with Troy Johnson on having a giveaway with on his site. So, an
okay.
African American Literature Book Club. So if you,
Okay.
you know, check him out there. My book is there as well. And so, you know, he's always been so supportive. He was supportive of the book even before it even, you know, like right before it came out.
Right. I have some books on that site. I may do that too. I didn't know he offered that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, let's try that and have a giveaway and then
Yeah.
bring people, you know, to the site. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Well,
So,
this has really gotten me even more excited about your book. I was excited before, but just hearing about how it's going to help kids process
mhm,
different emotions and, learn about overcoming and all these different things that you cover in the book.
Yeah, so you know how when we're writing, they always say, "Oh, make sure you give the kids hope and all that," right? Like there has to be like this journey for the character. They may start off some way, but they end up differently. So JoJo and Sophie end up different, and it's not necessarily good, but it's not necessarily bad either. It's just changed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be changed after this if we ever get through this pandemic, right? Like
Right.
I feel like I've changed from the beginning of the pandemic all the way until now,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
I'm a different person. I'm not,
Right.
I mean, and it's not anything bad, but I feel like I'm different. I've changed. I almost feel like I'm stronger in so many ways. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be put through a test to be able to know your strength, like to be able to say, hey, I got through that. I didn't even think I could even do that. Like sit in a house for 6 months, right? Like that makes you different. And so
Right.
JoJo comes out of this. Sophie's different too, but JoJo, different kids process different events, challenges, struggles, whatever, differently. And JoJo, just know, and I want the kids to know that it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to say that you're not okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
and if you have and and your family unit may not always be a mom and a dad and a sister and so different family units, whatever your family support unit is, lean on them and say, it's okay. Like, I got you. Like it really does take a village for all of us to even get through this pandemic and for JoJo and Sophie. So like the correlation between this hurricane and what we're going through now, it almost is like a perfect pairing to show the kids and give them hope and say, hey, you know what? I can do this too. If JoJo and Sophie can get through a hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I got this. I got this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, any new adventures in the works? I know you talked about Micah's Magic. You have any adventure stories in the works, or?
Well, I do. I write picture books as well. So,
Oh.
so Micah's Magic has been on my heart. Like, you know how you have a heart book, and
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, those are my kids, but this is my baby.
Yeah.
So Micah's Magic is definitely the adventure, but I am working on like all these cute little books, picture books. I write picture books. Like what you don't write picture books, do you? Not yet.
I've started. I have some manuscripts that
Oh,
I've been working on.
yeah. So, because you have a Sophie too. That's
I
the
know. I
we
love
have.
Sophie. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you come up with her name?
Actually, my daughter's name is Sophia, and so people were calling her Sophie all the time. And I said, well, we'll just name the character Sophie. They love Sophie. That's going to be
So do
Sophie
you
will be
call
her
her,
name.
do you call her Sophie?
No, we don't. And I was really like, why is everybody? She was younger and she was just letting them call her Sophie at a new school she went to. And then she told them my name's Sophia. And I
Uh,
said, well, since people like Sophie so much, why don't we just go with that?
yeah, right. Like, so I didn't copy off you for sure. I did not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I do love that name. Like, I was looking in the book because I wanted to, well, I don't even want to give this part away. Like, it's almost like I'm not even going to tell you guys, but Sophie's name is different. I'm going to let you guys figure out what Sophie's name is. I was going to tell you, but now I'm going to make you read it and find out what Sophie's real name is, right? So you'll find,
Okay.
yeah, when you read it, like, yeah. But I did not copy. But the thing about it was, I was going to nickname her something different, and my agent was like, "Nah, that's a little too close to JoJo," because her name was
Oh.
it was going to be JoJo and Jos. No, it was going to be JoJo and I'm not even going to tell you, because if I tell you that, you're going to guess her name, right? But it wasn't going to initially be.
Oh, I know. Josephina.
I'm not even going to tell
Oh man.
you. You're gonna,
Okay. Well, they got to read it to find out. We don't tell them. They got to read it to find out.
right? Yeah. So I write picture books and chapter books and this middle grade adventure. And so you know what? It's actually probably the coolest thing is that I get more words in a chapter book in a middle grade than I do with picture books. So I get to, like, because I have a lot of words, right? So I have all these words in these books. And then it's like, of course they get cut. But I just love the fact that I get all the words. In the picture books, you don't get that many words.
Right. You cut so many.
You
Yeah.
cut all of them. It's like 500 words. But then again, you got to get to the meat, because kids, I guess their attention span is only, so
Right.
they got so much going on, Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm so happy that you came on, and I know you have an appointment after this.
Mm-hmm.
So could anybody have any quick questions? If anyone has, we'll take a couple questions for Judy if you have any.
Yeah.
Before she pops off. And
questions. Yeah, this was good to be here. And I also wanted to, I guess, and this is kind of somber, but this is like kind of off the, off the path a little bit. But I just want to say that my heart is full. But yes, I am, by the way. But I just wanted to be able to, say that, we lost two great children's book creators, two amazing creators, Floyd Cooper, illustrator extraordinaire, died last week. So I'm, still full from that. But, Bernadette Ford, she was a really amazing editor, creator, with Scholastic for years. And I just wanted to say, like, thank you to them. And if you ever could look into their work and just find out more about them, and you see like how our paths as creators, how they laid the groundwork for us.
right.
Yeah. So I see some questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, one question asked if you've written graphic novels.
I'm working right now, as a matter of fact.
Okay, she's working on a graphic novel. And then what's one of a resource for authors that you could recommend?
Oh, a resource? Like writing? Like,
yeah, writing resource.
Yeah, this is probably the best writing resource ever. BIC, right? That is butt in chair.
Oh. Yes, that's right. That's
right? Like,
yeah.
Sit down, just, the world is swirling all around us and we're all over the place, but you have to center yourself and focus and concentrate.
Right.
Because how busy we get, right?
Right.
And, I see you have that big, beautiful chair behind you. So it's like,
get in that chair. Sit down in this chair.
Sit in that chair and just sit there, and your stories will come alive and work with you and be there. And you know how you always say, like, I don't know what this voice is. If you center yourself, those characters tell you what their adventure is going to be. Because I had to sit with JoJo and Sophie and for a while, like, and take a lot of breaks because it was so emotional. Not their story so much, but the research that went behind it, to know that the residents of New Orleans in the Ninth Ward, just were so devastated and treated so badly, after so much discrimination. And that was the sad part for me, just seeing all the, all the carnage and all that. So, yeah.
Okay.
So that's, B.I.C. butt in chair.
Yeah, BIC. That's a key takeaway.
Yeah, but this is because I know a lot of teachers and educators might see this eventually at some point. But part of that is the Brown Bookshelf. Like, I worked at a public library for many years, and a lot of that was I didn't see a lot of our stories, but they did a really good job as, you know, selectors. But as a resource is the Brown Bookshelf, because they highlight so many of our books about our children. So I think that to me would probably be a good resource for educators. But for writers, I would definitely say crafting, like craft sessions, like where you get somebody to look at your story and work with you one-on-one to be able to show you and tell you and teach you how to craft that story, because I didn't get that for years. But I know highlights, they have amazing, you know, creators who teach as well. So I would say highlights, the Brown Bookshelf, and the African American literature, African American literature book club.
Yeah, AALBC.
Yeah.
AALBC.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Judy, I know she had an appointment, so I don't want to have her pass the time, but just so those who joined late, her book is Escape from Hurricane Katrina by Judy Allen Dodson. And you can find her book in all retailers, online retailers. It's a great resource and a great comfort to kids going through traumatic experiences, as well as a fun adventure story just for anyone.
Yeah, and it takes you down to New Orleans if you can't get there or never been there. So it has a little flavor to it too.
Got that flavor. I wish it could give me a beignet right now because I'm hungry.
Oh, me too. That's right.
I know.
I truly have enjoyed being here. And I apologize for being late, but this is my first live, but not my last.
That's right. Right. You a pro now.
I'm a pro now. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Judy, for coming. And thank you guys for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Next week, I'll be on vacation, so I'll be out, but we'll come back in early August for the next episode of Write This. Okay. So see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Now.